I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble, BC Director of the Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome back to the show, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Sharon, you were just telling me about a shocking study that, something, the Wi-Fi radiation that's out there, radar guns and so on, could be condemning our young athletes, especially pitchers, catchers, umpires, and tennis players to an early death from brain cancer. Can you maybe explain?
Yeah, this is an article that someone sent to me today, and I'd never heard of this before. But there are so many baseball players, especially pitchers and catchers, who are right in line with the radar gun, that are being diagnosed and dying at very young ages from brain tumors. And they're showing that the catchers are most likely to get the brain tumors at the back of their head, and the pitchers are getting it at the side of their head. And most of them are like glioblastomas, very similar to the type that are caused by cell phone usage. And they've listed one after another in this article. And, like Gary Carter. I'm not a baseball fan, so none of these names mean anything to me. But Gary Carter died. Dan Quisenberry died. Bobby Bonds died. Tug McGraw. John Vukovic. Most of these guys died in their 30s and 40s. Ken Brett, he was in his 40s. Darren Dalton, who's a catcher. Ricky Stone is a pitcher. Bobby Mercer. Carl Schilling. They go on and on. They last. Here's Giants pitcher Dave Dravecki, 32. There are umpires. There are coaches, pitching coaches, who are near the radar guns. An umpire, Dan Deslin or something, brain tumor, 42. Just goes on and on and on, and then it talks about all of the tennis players. So many of them some of them I've never heard of, but it's becoming very, very common. And they talk here about in the Philadelphia, I think it was the Philadelphia team, where a whole bunch of players came down with cancer. I mean, it is just absolutely mind-boggling, but it makes sense. The radar guns use 2.4 gigahertz, which is the same that's used in schools for Wi-Fi and many other wireless devices. And these things are out there pointing at these players, especially the pitchers and catchers are exposed to them for the entire game, as are the tennis players. This is really, really very, very concerning, I believe, for those. I don't know if they use radar guns, at the lower levels. I know they don't do it in schools, but when you start progressing up the line into the junior leagues or whatever they call, I'm sure they've got guns there too, so that they can figure out who's going to be the best pitcher. It has been demonstrated for years that microwave radiation weakens the blood-brain barrier. This is a shielding that prevents anything from getting into our brain. And this blood-brain barrier leakage occurs after exposure to radiation for a prolonged period of time. And it can lead to calcium leaking through, which causes damage. It can weaken the DNA. It can even damage the DNA. It also is being used medicinally. The medical field has discovered that, yes, exposure to microwave radiation weakens the blood-brain barrier and can enhance getting medicine in, ironically, to fight the brain tumors that are there. When the blood-brain barrier is weakened, toxins are allowed to get in, toxins that are in our body from other things like GMO and whatever. So there are major concerns here for allowing this sort of exposure to occur, and it demonstrates once again that microwave radiation is dangerous and we should not be exposing anyone to it, especially our children. And this is the very same, as I said, the very same frequency that is being put into our classrooms. If people want to look at this, I'm going to have it on our website in our newsletter tonight. But if they go in there and they Google the untimely death of Gary Carter and what we can learn from what happened to the kid, it was in a California newspaper, and I don't have a date for it.
Well, Gary Carter was a huge Expo star.
Yeah.
So Canadians would be very familiar with that name. Now, are schools being told that this Wi-Fi radiation is dangerous and that there's alternatives you can use to keep the kids connected to computers?
Schools the school teachers, the principals, and the parents, and the teachers. No one is being told. No. In fact, pressure is being put on people like the principals not to share this information. This is happening. We've got it documented in the U.S., and I suspect from what is happening to parents who raise these concerns, I suspect it's true in Canada as well. In British Columbia, there are a couple of amazing mothers, and one is a grandmother as well, who is fighting on behalf of her grandson, who is very sensitive to the Wi-Fi, and she has been pleading with school boards to please provide a safe place for him to go to school. Please share this information with other parents. She has gone to school boards. She has gone to everyone trying to say, please let me get this information out. Will you not put it on your web page? Will you not tell parents, can I hand out flyers? And she's been told no. In fact, the Human Rights Tribunal issued, I don't know if it's an official statement but it was a ruling that I believe it was the Sioux School Board is supposed to be posting on its website information about Wi-Fi and the health dangers, and they were told that they're supposed to be putting up signs in the schools about it, and they haven't done it. This ruling came out probably about 6 or 8 months ago, and they're just ignoring it. So no, the information is not being given to anybody.
Are teachers being threatened they'll lose their jobs if they bring the issue up?
Sure. Yep. Yeah, and in the States, we have on record, there have been some teachers, I believe it was in Maryland, where a teacher stood up and said that she was very concerned about the Wi-Fi in her schoolroom, and that she had been chastised, reprimanded, because she turned the Wi-Fi off when it wasn't in use. You don't need it on all the time. Some very simple things. I mean, first of all, the most important thing is you don't need Wi-Fi. Most schoolrooms most schools have fiber optic cable, which is by far superior in its performance. It is much faster. It provides much cleaner and data, and it's much more efficient. It also doesn't irradiate anybody. But for some reason, it's unbeknownst to me, schools are being told, they're being forced to use Wi-Fi. I believe the reason and justification that they give is that then kids can bring in their wireless devices from home. And they sit there all day long with these wireless devices, picking up Wi-Fi signals, even if they don't need it. They could download the material and turn the Wi-Fi function off. That's how many people who are concerned about this use their laptops when they're traveling. You download the material, and then you can use it with the battery. You don't need to have Wi-Fi. But the schools are not being allowed to do this. This teacher in the U.S. was reprimanded for turning the Wi-Fi off in her classroom, and ultimately she was fired because she refused to turn it on. She was teaching children in grade school, and she was very concerned about the danger. She felt that it is her responsibility to protect kids. As a teacher, it's her responsibility, and for that she was fired. There are many teachers in British Columbia who have complained about it, many teachers who themselves have become ill from exposure to it, and nothing is being done. No information is being given out. These teachers are on disability, and even if they say, and several of them have told me, they want to teach. They don't want to be on disability. But please just give them a school without Wi-Fi where they can teach. And the school refuses. Right now, there aren't that many schools without Wi-Fi. But when these teachers became disabled, there still were quite a few schools where they could have been transferred. But the school boards refused. The teachers that I've spoken with believe that such a transfer basically would be acknowledging that there's a problem, and the school board won't do that.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after the break.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, what's happening with the UN and the World Health Organization when it comes to microwave radiation?
Sadly, not what should be happening. As you know, the World Health Organization is an arm of the United Nations. And one of the members of our coalition, Olga Sheehan, used to work for the United Nations, and she knows how things work. And she has become sensitive and has written an amazing document addressed to the World Health Organization and the United Nations, charging that they're not doing their jobs, that they are hiding the evidence, all of the scientific evidence that shows that this microwave radiation is dangerous. And she is also charging that the committee of the World Health Organization that is reviewing evidence is biased and is loaded with people that have conflicts of interests. And it's also headed by someone who is an engineer, has absolutely no experience in biohealth, in bioeffects of microwave radiation, and who has for years supported and worked for industry for these very same devices that she's supposed to be reviewing. This document is on our website, and it's an amazing one. And I'm hoping that people will look at it and consider signing the petition that Olga has provided. It is one that's saying we need to get an independent body of scientists and experts in the field to review the evidence and to establish safer, better guidelines. The World Health Organization is one that many, many people look to, and it provides coverage. For instance, as you've heard me speak about the Health Canada so many times, Jim, Health Canada is not doing its job. It is refusing to put labels on wireless devices warning people to keep them away from their bodies. They're refusing to provide standards and guidelines that are protective of health. And what do they say? The World Health Organization isn't concerned about it. They're following the World Health Organization's lead. This goes further even down to the provincial level. Then when people like Dr. Perry Kendall are confronted and presented with scientific evidence, and we're saying we should not have Wi-Fi in schools, we should not have smart meters on our home, what does Perry Kendall say? Health Canada says it's fine, and World Health Organization says it's fine. They all come from the same source. It all comes from this group of people with conflicts of interest who are there with biases, and they're not doing their jobs. And this is what Olga is saying. We need to have an independent group of people running this section of the World Health Organization, not people who are paid by, who are influenced by, who have had their careers built by relationships with the industry. So please, I hope people will go on our website, which is www.stopsmartmetersbc.com, and look for Olga's article and for her World Health Organization document. It's very, very important that people sign. We get as many people signing as possible before it's presented to the United Nations.
You're also still concerned about the original concern about smart meters, and that's their propensity to catch fire.
This is a continuing problem. And just recently, there's been another spate of explosions and burned meters in Pennsylvania due to a power surge. These things do not have surge suppressors as analogs do. And this has happened many times. It's happened in Summerland in BC, happened in Palo Alto, California, it happened in Sacramento, California, it happened in Ontario in a small town, and this was in Pennsylvania, where several hundred smart meters just exploded, some burned, as a result of a power surge. Now, we are very vulnerable to power surges with all of the outages during the bad weather, during windstorms, or during car crashes that bring power poles down. This could be happening all over the place, and we don't know it because it's very difficult to get information here in British Columbia about this sort of thing. But these are the very same meters, the very same type of meters. They're not the same brand, but they're made the same as we have here in British Columbia. And the event in Summerland a couple of years ago shows it's happening here. These things are not safe, Bob, or Jim, I'm sorry. These things are not safe, and they should not be on our homes. And no one is doing anything about it. I can't get any reaction from the NDP. The BC Utilities Commission is not doing anything. It's going to be up to us to pressure people to do something about this. We need to have them off our homes.
Sharon, is there anywhere else somebody can go to get more information on this?
Well, we try to keep my website as up to date as possible. Every time I find a new article, I put it on there. I am still working on my fire report for the BC Utilities Commission that shows that there is absolutely no tracking whatsoever of smart meter fires. And in fact, the system is so broken, I don't think that the fire commissioner or any of the associated agencies really know what's happening as far as electrical fires generally are concerned. And when I have this finished, I will circulate it widely, and it will be available on our website, too. I try to keep that as up to date as possible. And may I raise one more question? Do I
sure
have
can.
Issue? May I?
Oh.
This has nothing really to do with smart meters, but I think it's important that people should consider. We've had so many outages during this last period with bad weather. In the long term, things could be done to prevent this. Power lines, as we know, are dangerous. Power lines over homes. It's been shown that cancer rates, especially in children, are higher when they live under these strong power lines. It's expensive when there are outages. People can't get to work. Stores are closed. There are power surges that cause problems. There are so many problems. Why isn't the money being spent to put these power lines underground? Do you know that the highest paid people in hydro, often and usually, I've looked at the last 2 or 3 annual reports, are linesmen? They have very dangerous jobs. They deserve every cent they get. But when outages occur, they have to work overtime often in very dangerous situations, to get the power back on for us. If we had lines underground, people would not be sick, they would not be getting irradiated, and we wouldn't have outages. And instead of doing something as forward-thinking as this, hydro spending money on things like the smart meter program that's not needed, that's not providing any benefits to people, and for Site C, where experts have said we have surplus energy already, and we will have surplus energy, even more surplus energy, by the time Site C is built. They're taking valuable land, ruining the environment, building a dam that's not needed. If we took that money and spent it on putting power lines underground, in the long run, and it wouldn't take long, I think we'd be seeing benefits that we'll never see from the dam or from smart meters, because the inconvenience, stores and businesses suffering, and outages, as well as salaries, huge salaries for people going out and doing these dangerous jobs. We need to be pressing our politicians to be thinking along lines like this instead of wasting money on projects like smart meters and Site C dams.
Sharon, can you again share with us some of those websites?
Be happy to. Our website is www.stopsmartmetersbc.com.
Sharon, thank you so much for chatting with us.
I so appreciate your invitation, Jim. Thank you.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, Director of the Coalition to Stop Smart Meters in BC. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet, our YouTube channel, very popular, Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show can be emailed to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.